Hi everyone. Have you ever tried to look for stocks with a certain price trend, like stocks which have trended upwards, then downwards, and then become flat for some time, or any combination of up, down, or flat? And have you done that by going through some online websites with candle chart graphs, like going through the stocks one by one and look for the specific price trend you have in mind? It could be a very tedious process, and you might not always find the stock you with the price trend you're interested in. So I've created a tool which uses the computer to look for those stocks. On the screen you see the stock 9992, which is traded in the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong. Using our human eyes, we see that it trended firstly downwards in the first half of the graph and then trended upwards until the end. And then when I turn on the trend overlay, we see that it highlights a green area, and when we hover over it, we see the trend, which is up. It highlights it as an uptrend, and the way it does it is to see if the begin price if there is basically if the minimum in the period with the maximum in the period exceeds a certain trigger price difference. In this case, the trigger price difference is 129. This one is a number derived from a trigger diff ratio highlighted here, 0.7. This one is a configurable parameter, and it basically refers to the threshold of the price change beyond which it's considered a change. So back to this example, this is an average price graph which I created using the OHLC data. I basically add them up, they open, high, low, close, add them up, divided by 4, and I get the average price. And for this whole period, I get the minimum and the maximum price, and the difference is multiplied by ratio, and I get a trigger price difference. And if you go through the whole time series, whenever it will always remember the first point it starts, and then for each successive points, if the difference is greater than the ratio, like greater than the trigger price difference, then it will mark the whole period as either up or down, and any other periods will be marked as flat. For example, this gray area. This actually looks a bit unsatisfactory because we suggested in the beginning that it's a downtrend. And one way to do that is we make the threshold lower, so that even a smaller drop can constitute a drop in price. It can constitute a downtrend. To do that, we can pick a smaller trigger ratio. Here, there's this button. With the trigger ratio 0.3, the trigger price difference is now 55.6, and this area is highlighted as a downtrend. So, now that we have a basic understanding of how the tool works, I have created this another demo which shows the price trend of different stocks by the index they belong to. So I'm showing the biotech index here with 51 stocks, and below you see two horizontal bar charts. Each row represents a stock which belongs to the biotech index, and each has the up-down flat segmentation. So it basically is quite similar to what you saw up there, but then I skip the whole average line and only highlight the up, down, and flat colors in this chart. Using the ratio 0.7, you can see that most of the area is gray. The reason is that it requires a higher trigger ratio for the area to be marked as up or down, and most of the time it's marked as flat. And if you want to be more granular, probably you can look at 0.3. The trigger ratio equals 0.3. It looks a bit noisier because it highlights more areas as either up or down, but then it will have a higher chance to capture areas which using the human eye we would classify as an up or down. Hopefully this is useful. Thank you.